video for YouTube. I don't have a channel. I don't plan to get one. I just wanted to make this video to contribute to the dialogue regarding those of us who have vestibular disorders and chronic dizziness, chronic migraine, and all the things that are related to that. My saving grace was a Vestibular Disorders Association. They're not sponsoring this video or anything, but I just want to shout them out because I've spent 3 or 4 years of existing in a medical mystery, and then finally I talked to this organization and they were able to lead me in the right direction to find me the right medical professionals. But be that as it may, I just wanted to give you a little bit of my testimony, so hopefully someone out there with who's similarly situated can relate, and then have the mindset that you're not alone, and then you're not going crazy. Because there's times where I felt I was going crazy because I just was not getting the help that I needed. But anyway, I just wanted to, just again, or contribute to the dialogue. And what I want to talk about is my testimony regarding my diagnosis of persistent postural perceptual dizziness. And excuse me, sometimes I look down to check my notes. I'm leaning on my bed right now because this is like the most comfortable place I could ever be. Either leaning or lying on my side, lying on my back, because all things come together well, and everything is fine when I'm in those positions. But nonetheless, I do have to live, and trying to get through this disorder and trying to learn more about it and do things I need to do to get treated for it is where I am right now. So essentially 3PD, or persistent postural perceptual dizziness, is a condition that, if I interpret this correctly, because I'm not a medical professional, is a condition where your vestibular system, which is in your ear, behind your eardrum, is a whole system of nerves and things like that. And the nerves that interpret the signals from what you see and what you hear and how your body moves throughout, how your body moves in motion in relation to what you see and what you hear, and how your feet move. Those signals, the brain is not misfiring. The brain is not connecting those dots to make things happen. So as a result of this misfiring, I'm in a constant state of dizziness. I'm in a constant state of imbalance when I'm dizzy. There's some times when I'm not dizzy, but daily, I have daily dizziness. Sometimes with the dizziness, there's nausea, and at times I've vomited. There's also times where, it's brain fog that happens, and there's certainly physical fatigue. And so I'm doing this as a reason. This is what I see sometimes when I shake this phone, and if I were to shake it long enough, and you would probably get like, oh my God, that's what I deal with. So sometimes it happens when I turn my head one way and then I turn it back, or if I bend over, stand up, and I get that kind of feeling. So, and also with the symptoms, with the dizziness, with the bad balance, comes the migraine. Migraines hit me the back of my head and the left side, and they radiate down my neck, or radiate up my neck, and it's always in the very back of my head. A lot of times the dizziness follows the migraine, and sometimes the migraines follow the dizziness. Cognitive impairments, which means like brain fog, because you're in the middle of a dizzy spell, and you're trying to figure out what to do. You're kind of like, you don't know how to maneuver. And also, I think with the fatigue, the mental and physical fatigue, comes with a lot of anxiety, because you're always thinking like, I need to do some things, I need to get out, but I don't want to have a dizzy spell. I don't want to fall on my face and bust my lip, because I have fallen a couple of times. Thankfully, I didn't get hurt, but I've suffered from I suffered from this for about 3 or 4 years, and I just got this diagnosis, and I'm pushing through nonetheless. But it is not easy, and I hope to those who are watching this video, I can relate to you, and hopefully if you have any comments that you can include them in the comment section below. But basically, like I said, the vestibular system is not connecting the dots from what I see, what I hear, and what and how I move. It's almost like a feeling of constant drunkenness, or it's almost a feeling like if you ever got on a amusement park ride, like a tilt-a-whirl, or you got on a roller coaster and you got off and you still feel like, oh, I'm still moving. That's that's me every day. For me, on the outside, if somebody looking at me from the outside, they would probably think I'm a drunkard, lush or something, because there's times I've actually had really bad dizzy spells and I'm falling out on the floor. I remember a time, and it was in Target. I was with my mom, and the dizzy spell hit me so hard I was in there crying on the floor. And I looked like I was having a temper tantrum, but no, I just couldn't do anything. So I'm gonna say first and foremost that now that I have medical professionals that are helping me through this in a very sort of where things move like molasses, because we still got to figure some things out, but they are helping me. But I do want to praise God that it's not MS. I don't have a brain tumor. I'm not sitting in a wheelchair, although I have had to use a wheelchair to move around. I'm not permanently impaired. I just have a nerve situation that I have to address, and essentially what I probably would have to do is go through a rehabilitation, a neurorehabilitation. I don't know what the current name is for, but a neurorehabilitation to retrain my brain to understand how I need to see what the horizon looks like. So I probably have to start off with understanding how I see the horizon, and then there also may be instances where they're going to have to induce dizziness to help me retrain my brain to overcome the dizziness, and to course correct when the dizziness. So the rehab I've started already, and it's not been easy. There's been times, again, like I said, they had physical therapy, and I had to do a lot of moving, head nodding. Had to look at a fixed point at a wall, and I was this, and I had to go like this for like a minute or two, and then do some balance testing. And then after that was over, I was on the floor. I couldn't do anything more. So it's going to be a very accumulative process for me. But all was looking up, because now I know what's going on. My dizziness is very debilitating to the extent that I've stopped driving. So many of you may have to stop driving, because there was times when I first started getting dizziness, I was having dizzy spells while driving, because I was moving my head, or when I would reverse into a parking space, and then I reverse back, and then I move my head forward, and then here got this. So then that would happen once, twice, 3 times, and then it was like a constant thing. And then the dizziness was just constant, so I was always scared that I might get into an accident, or something will happen to me and I won't have the reflex, because my ocular reflex and my head turning, my positional head wouldn't come together, and I didn't want to run over somebody or get into an accident and not being able to respond. But it's interestingly that although I can't drive, riding in a car, as long as the car is going straight, I think I feel good. But while I'm driving straight, I gotta look out look straight. I can't look to the left or to the right and seeing. I just have to focus my eyes straight on the road. And the roundabouts or the traffic circles are a killer, so I have to close my eyes to go around those things. It's crazy. So yeah, so when I'm riding, I don't look outside windows. Pretty much had a substantial social life and a robust social calendar, like got out and did stuff and visited people and went to events and so on and so forth. And I don't do that much anymore because entering into an environment where there's a loud music, so many people, so many things going on, my eyes and ears and brain can't process all that. So I just would be in sensory overload. So I have been out somewhat since I don't drive, done the Uber thing. Uber can get really expensive, but I've Ubered, showing up at a dinner party or two, been there for an hour or so and had to leave because, again, too much stimulation to my senses does not serve me well. So how does this play out in the grand scheme of things? Your career and my career will suffer because I can't really do much right now. There's somebody with that, the vestibular ocular reflex doesn't work and the brain is not seeing things the right way. Screens are horrible. Like researching on the computer, scrolling on a smartphone, watching TV, it causes your brain, and as it does mine, and I'm saying this, brain can go on overload. And then here comes the dizziness and here comes the migraine. For example, a couple of weeks ago, I was watching Game of Thrones, Battle of Winterfell, the Night King or whatever. I spent most of the day not watching anything on the screen and keeping my screen time to a minimum. As soon as I watched the episode and that was over, I was like, I had the worst migraine ever because it was so much going on. Also, too, when watching TV, you got to watch, don't watch credits, scrolling, don't watch the news ticker because that's, if you're watching CNN or ABC and they have a news ticker going, that's also very jarring. So essentially, I do have to minimize my screen time, inclusive of all screens, TV, computer, smartphone, everything. And it gets kind of boring. So I just kind of sit sometimes and just sit outside or sit and look at the white wall and rest. So I try to give myself about 3 hours, an hour and a half in the morning, an hour and a half in the evening of something to deal with screens. To do something. Let's see, what else? When times that I've had to, got a few things going on related to some long-term projects I'm working on, and I can't take the meeting. I can't go to the meeting, but I've participated in the meeting through conference call, and I've many a day have participated while I'm lying on my back and I'm, doing the text on my back. So, because just that's the only way that I could get, participate. So also too, I've had issues with my ears. Listen to Spotify and then I have my earbuds in and kind of jamming on, some tunes. And then after that time is up, then I felt a lot of fullness in my ear. I don't know what that's about, but I am very leery about loud noises. So I try not to put my earbuds in. One thing that's interesting too is you might, if you have 3PD like me, you might experience some weight gain or some weight loss. And that basically comes from the fact that you can't exercise. You can't lift, can't lunge. Being in the pool, that's probably going to be visually difficult because of the waves. I went to a physical medicine doctor and she said that at best I could walk and at best I need to get on a recumbent bike. Do not do the treadmill. And don't do the steps or anything like that. So that's where the weight gain comes in. Weight loss comes in is you don't want to eat because you're always nauseous. And so you kind of have this expression in your face. You're kind of like, oh, everything, oh. So, but in the midst of all that, I really try to control my eating through intermittent fasting. So I can just do it to maintain because I don't want to, I don't want wide range, happening, weight gain or weight loss. Grocery store is the worst. Costco is the worst. That's probably shopping mall is the absolute worst. Way too much activity, people, lights, loud noises, going into the store, be it Target or whatever else, Costco, whatever, grocery store, rows and rows and rows. There's patterns that brain's trying to process, and it can't process those patterns or those rows and rows and rows of food. And then the body trying to maneuver in and out of those rows. So it is torturous sometimes. So I've had to resort to buy my food online, and maybe I can get in to the store to get a couple things, but it is not an outing that I have on my schedule. So, but those of you who are dealing with that, for me, that's how it really actually started. It started first with the turning my head while parking in a parking lot, reversing into a parking space, and then grocery store. And then I was kind of like, what's going on? And then everything progressed from there. In the same vein, what relates to food is cooking. So again, if you have a big kitchen, for me, a kitchen's pretty not big, but it's big. It's got several counters. So opening the refrigerator, trying to go find a pot, get a spoon, bend over to get a trash bag. It's a lot of bending and moving that can make me very dizzy. So in response to that, I really try to have my mom put everything that I want to cook and all the utensils and all the spices and everything on one counter, so I don't have to do a lot of maneuvering and changing my position. So yeah, this is definitely something that's caused me to go through an emotional roller coaster, because this has been 3 or 4 years, and again, I'm glad that thank you, Jesus, it was nothing wrong. Did all the MRIs and everything, nobody found anything, but I was getting depressed because I didn't want people to think that it was all in my head or something that I was making up. I was feeling crappy and I couldn't explain myself. I didn't have the words. And when you go to the office, how can you recreate drunkenness? The feeling of drunkenness, how can you recreate dizziness, especially if it's non-specific dizziness that's not the spinning vertigo that most people are familiar with. So, I had to adjust that. I had to put career on hold. I got some things in the works, as I said earlier, but and also socially, I don't go out that much anymore. I still hope people send me invites to do stuff, but it's one of those things. I have tried to go out to small gatherings, but get in an Uber, since I don't drive, go somewhere and probably spend about an hour or two until I can tolerate it, or I start feeling funny, then I leave. Uber gets expensive sometimes too. So sometimes I just don't go out, period. So how did all this happen? Nobody knows. I don't know. My doctors don't really know. We haven't really figured it out, but in doing my reading, it seems as if that 3PD or persistent postural perceptual dizziness can come as a result of a history of migraines, can come as a result of damage to the nerve from an infection, or it could be from concussion. There are some people, you'll find some, if you look elsewhere on YouTube, there's a few people who've dealt with 3PD after a concussion. And concussion, infection, previous vestibular impairment. If you have like another vestibular issue, and then your brain hasn't quite reset. So that's basically the gist of sort of what I deal with. But in terms of moving forward, what I have to do, basically, as I just said, reset my brain. So going to PT. Medication, first of all, is a nerve suppressant, so I feel the dizziness to a lesser extent, and this makes it tolerable, and it allows me to get out of my bed. We'll be going to vestibular therapy. I don't know what my long-term plan would be, but for right now, I'm doing exercises where I fix my gaze on this particular point at the wall, and I do some head movements. And also, down the road, there might be times where they're going to have to induce dizziness for my brain to respond to it and correct itself. So I'm not looking forward to that, to induce dizziness that I already feel, make it worse for it to get better. But that's what has to happen. That's what's going to happen. The rehab process, I don't know. I don't know. It is what it is. And I just got my diagnosis. We just working it out. But there are some vestibular physical therapists who've posted on YouTube that might be helpful for some of you. But like I said, moving forward, you have to be proactive and advocating for your health and wellness. Because I've been to many doctors and I was not gonna, they've said certain things. So I kind of pulled together bits and pieces of information, and then I was doing my Google research. My mom was helping me, and then again, we just sort of like said, like, we gotta make this mean something. So we were doing our research, and then contacted the Vestibular Disorders Association, short for VITA. And again, they're not sponsoring this video or anything, but I just want to shout them out because they have the resources for any of you who are experiencing chronic dizziness and you don't have a solution. So they'll have, you can get information about how to find a support group, because you definitely need support system. My mom is my support. She drives me around. I have friends that can drive me around, but she's very sympathetic, and it's emotionally difficult for me because I should be taking care of her. So mom, but she's taking care of me, and I'm grown. So so Vito give you the links and the resources and the scholarly articles. There's a few out there that's worth a read, and and of course, like, what I was able to get was a specialist, neuro-ophthalmologist or neuro-otologist. So these people deal with not just the eyes, but the connection with sight to your brain. So get proactive. You may have to have some tests to see where the dizziness is coming from, what's triggering it. Those tests are not going to be pleasant, but just soldier on and take care of yourself. No, it's not in your head. No, you're not making it up. Yes, it is debilitating, and you can pull through. It's going to take some time. I don't know how long. I don't know my long-term prognosis, what that's going to be like, since I've developed these symptoms over 3 years. But again, like I said earlier, got to retrain my brain. So what that entails is yet to be seen. So I hope all is well with you guys, and hopefully I was able to say something that was motivating and helpful, and also for you to recognize that you're not alone out there. There's those of us who are suffering just as well. So find a support group, find a specialist, and be on your way to health and wellness. Okay.